Welcome to Insatiable, the podcast where we discuss the intersection of food, psychology, and culture.
As fancy pants grown-ups with like houses and cars and children and mortgages and whatever, you, my darling, with all love, are simply a taller toddler who pays taxes.
I'm your host, Ali Shapiro, an integrated health coach, 32-year and counting cancer survivor, and have radically healed my relationship with food and my body. And for the past 17 years, I've been working with clients individually, in group programs, and in company settings to do the same. Welcome. The information in this podcast should not be considered personal, individual, or medical advice. So this is my second episode with Bea. And if you haven't heard the first one, go back and listen to it. It just dropped last week. It will orient you and help you really get more from the second conversation. And I'm really excited about today's episode because when we think about orienting around what feels good, when I was binging and emotional eating, what I thought felt good was, oh my God, eating unlimited carbs or being like, I can't wait to get home and eat all those brownies, right? And it tasted good, right? For like a couple of bites, but it didn't feel good in the end. And it definitely didn't feel good the next day, the next hour, or, if it was interfering with my sleep or anything. So I really think we need to flush out more about what do we really mean by what feels good. Okay. And so we're going to do that today, especially because in my work, part of the work with clients is that they don't need more discipline, they need more satisfaction. And when we are struggling with food, struggling with the emotional patterns that Bea and I talk about in this episode and are the themes throughout my work, we really think that we have to be in this, quote, restrictive deprivation state to be good. So we're going to get into that today. And then what I really noticed is in my groups lately, and really, I think the past couple of years, is that a lot of times we think we're feeling our feelings, but we're thinking our feelings, right? And we talk about this with Bea, and it's something that comes up a lot in my groups. So listen to today's episode, and then the next Insatiable podcast, we're going to go even deeper into how to feel our feelings, okay? So no, I got you covered. Enjoy today's episode and then tune back in for even the next episode with Mary Tilson on how to feel your feelings coming up here, which is really good timing because the holidays bring up all the feels. All right, enjoy. I want to go back to the functional freeze because what I've seen with actually in my one Truths with Food consistency group right now, we're talking about how to feel your feelings when you realize you have needs, right? So in my work, it's like we turn to food because of unmet needs. And yet, once we realize we have needs, it brings up a whole lot of feelings. And I don't go into nervous system stuff too deeply in this, but I say like, okay, if you're feeling, because in my head, I'm like, okay, fit in, fawn, but as you're moving to freeze, right? If you're coming through those, I'm like, you need stuff that has more of a charge. And then like for fight or flight, okay, that's when you want to breathe deep, relax you. But you use the word in your book, like, when we feel fast, we want to go slow. And when we feel slow, we want to go fast. So can you talk about how people can support themselves when they are sort of in these states of functional freeze?
So I would actually back this boat way up.
Okay, yeah.
And my recommendation is don't try to regulate when you're in a big experience.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have, don't let your first experience of regulation be when you're freaking out.
Yeah.
Right?
I tell people, let's start in I use the metaphor 7-inch, 7-foot, 70-foot waves of when you're like triggered. I'm like, let's start with 7-inch where it feels like this could go either way.
Right. I mean, it's like anything else where you got to, we got to start where it's simple and easy so that we can show our nervous system, we can show our inner children, we can show ourself that we are trustworthy guardians of our own body. Right. And that we can manage the way we feel. We can support the way we feel. We can allow the way we feel successfully. Which sometimes means like pulling over on the highway and sobbing your eyes out. That sounds great if that's what you need. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I recommend for everyone, but specifically when food and nourishment is a concern, that we start with building interoception. So we talked about neuroception, where we're understanding the environment outside of ourselves. We start to build our interoception, which is feeling our needs in our body as sensation. We start with our biological impulses. So emotional outsourcing pulls you away from yourself and melds you with the people and situations around you, right? And leads to role confusion, right? So many of us are parentified. So many of us were like the eldest daughter or eldest immigrant daughter, right? And so all of a sudden you're a de facto parent, or maybe you were the youngest. And so you were the comedian. You know, you were like, da, 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 when the family was upset. Like, we all have these roles, scapegoat, etc., right? That take us out of self and into this false self. And somatics, body-based practices, can bring us back in. But before you can shift behavior, you have to actually feel yourself as a separate person. It makes English when you say it that plainly, right? But when we're in these roles, I really just got to get this done before I can pee. And so let me just do 3 more spreadsheets and then I can pee. Let me get this one room really straightened up before I eat, even though I can feel like my blood sugar is around a 60 and I'm going to pass out. But that's cool. Let me get this kitchen straightened up or the living room, whatever. We're not in ourselves. And so what I recommend we do is reconnect with biological impulses, meaning, as I was alluding to, peeing, hunger, has to poop, needs nap. This is what I call our taller toddler experience, because I need us all to recognize that as fancy pants grown-ups with like houses and cars and children and mortgages and whatever, you, my darling, with all love, are simply a taller toddler who pays taxes.
Some of us do.
Listen, Alcatraz, but meaning that's what they got Capone on, was not paying taxes. Just to clarify, I heard it. So anyway, you're a taller toddler, and we forget that, and we start treating ourselves like machines when we're dysregulated, and when we're living in emotional outsourcing, we're mostly dysregulated, and so we're not present with ourselves as mammals. So I want to invite us to 3 times a day, set a little alarm on your phone and give yourself 20 seconds. Like, for real. I know we're all so busy, which is part of the problem, but don't make it a whole thing where you're like, I need to sit and meditate for a half hour, because you're never going to do it. And it's going to be a colossal failure, and you're going to hate it, and your feet are going to fall asleep, and it's going to be a nightmare, and then you're never going to do mindfulness. So 3 times a day, take a slow, deep breath in, long, slow out. What am I feeling right now? Panic. I don't know. What am I feeling? I don't know. Okay. Cool. You don't have to know. We're just asking. We're not asking for the answer. We're asking to ask. You see the difference there? And then scan your body to see if you can find the answer. You might not. Who cares? Is there tension? What sensations are present? And if you find something cool, make note. And if you feel nothing, okay, cool. Who cares? Who cares? You're asking to ask, not to know. And that's the shift. That's the shift. And so then once you've asked those 2 questions, what am I feeling right now? Where am I feeling it in this human body? Then do one small act of self-honoring. So you can shake your little paws, stretch, invite a yawn, place a hand on your chest, adjust your posture in a way that feels supportive. And then see if there's a biological need. Do you need to pee? Do you need a snack? And we do this because the more you practice noticing yourself without judgment, the stronger your internal reference point becomes, which helps you remember that you are and can once again be the center of your own friggin' universe. You can be your own North Star. It's possible. It's going to take some work, let me tell you what, but that's fine. Life is work. Life is, you're either doing it or you're not. So why
you're
not
working hard either way. You might as well be in service.
Be in service of more self.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's why I recommend we start, is really that muscle of, I feel the sensation. I know how to name it. I do the thing.
said a really important thing that I just want to name again for listeners is you said when you feel like you're being a robot or mechanical, I forget exactly, but that's a sign that you're dysregulated. Like, this is why clarity is so helpful. And so I think they are being superhuman, not dysregulated sometimes, right? And so I just want to name that for listeners. Like, if you're starting to feel like, I love, your example is you can't go to the bathroom or you can't even take some time to get the water because you're thirsty. That's a sign that you're dysregulated, not that you're necessarily, I don't want to say okay, because you're okay if you're dysregulated too.
Sure. But I get,
But I think that was such an amazing point that you brought up. And two, it's coming up to say it because you gave us much more laser focused wording. And I remember when I was first practicing this stuff for myself several years ago, I just thought of it as bringing my energy back into myself.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, I'm over there thinking I have to keep the conversation going. Wow. Ooh, can I bring the energy back in? So I just wanted, if that's helpful for any listeners, it was I didn't even understand necessarily at the time what a biological impulse was.
Sure.
And it's this general sense of where am I? Oh, I'm thinking about that email I sent back there. I'm not physically here. So it helped me to.
My response about the terms is we are nerds. Our listeners are nerds. We like knowing the terms because we are active, thinky, smarty pants people, and that's cool. That's groovy. But if you forget all of the words and the terms and the things, just asking yourself, what feels good right now?
Yes.
Does it feel good to be spinning in my head while my husband's talking, while my kid's talking? Does it feel good to be back in the office while I'm at my mom's or out with my friends? Right? Is this how I want to live my life? To get all former hospice nurse on it, because I will pretty fast, at the end of days, is this how you want to have spent your days, your nights? Is this how you want your experience of being you to be?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to be distracted through life or not present? Again, I can't say it enough, no judgies. You're doing it for survival. Well done, you. I will give you a reward, an award, a commendation for being distracted. Yep. You're protecting. But do you want to keep doing it or do you want to find another way? And somatic practices is the way, coming back into the body, into the nervous system. It is the way to step out of emotional outsourcing and into interdependence.
One of the things that I love that I feel like, because we've been in this space long enough, again, I think whenever you first get into functional medicine, it's it was a miracle for me in so many ways, right? I realized so many issues that Western medicine couldn't fix was I needed to heal my gut. But then I was like, oh, I thought I was at 100, but I was at a 0. I had IBS and it was okay, I don't have IBS as long as I don't eat 3 hours before bed. I stay away from nightshades, And so I think, and it's interesting because again, I got into all this 19 years ago before social media. Functional medicine was very fringe. I had to teach people what it was. But I love that you can see that a lot of what wellness is these days, right? I find that wellness now has kind of jumped the shark. And I love that you use the word green pharmacology, right? It's because I'm it's recreated the same model as the pharma companies, except it's supplements instead of drugs. And again, flexing when you need what. But what happens when we start to go through our Instagram feed and think this influencer or even me or you has all the answers? And what happens when we're emotionally outsourcing, right? It's okay, we're not going to do it for diet culture, but now we're doing it with wellness culture. What does that do to our
treating our cancer with enemas? We end up doing stupid stuff that kills people. I mean, that's the end game of this unfortunate swing from logical science-based functional medicine to what we're seeing in the wellness world now. It is petrifying. That's sort of on the broader level.
Yeah. I was I think we have different Instagram feeds. Mine is now just wild animals and poetry.
Oh, no, that's not my Instagram feed. But, I remember having a patient who had strep throat. So I wrote her a prescription. It's a very easy thing to murder. Not a big deal. 5 days. She refused to take it because she wanted to do the natural supplements. I'm an herbalist. If she had gone to see a clinical herbalist with my level of training and had done really thoughtful care, maybe, but she insisted, even though her fever kept getting higher and higher and higher, to take some supplements that she was ordering from Amazon with an affiliate code from some Instagram. She ended up getting septic and almost dying. So I got to tell you, where my brain goes is to a pretty bananas end game where, the term I can go off, sister. I mean, functional medicine has very much jumped the shark. Wellness has jumped the shark to where it is just pseudoscience on the other side, right? And what I practice is deeply evidence-based and wisdom-based.
I love that.
Right? So just because it's natural doesn't mean it's good for you or it's safe. And just because it's a supplement, Pure Encapsulations is owned by what? Bayer?
Nestle bought
evil
them.
Nestle.
I was so upset when they bought them because they used to be great.
They used to be great. But just because it's natural or a supplement doesn't mean it's safe. And just because it's Western medicine doesn't mean it's safe either. So to sort of reel myself we come back to discernment. We come back to science. We come back to logic and really thinking things all the way through.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's gotten lost is critical thinking. But again, that's often the plan, right? Is to defund schools, to label critical thinking as fringe, and to get us not thinking and just trusting, whether that's in Western medicine or in holistic medicine, right?
Yeah.
What we most need to do, and emotional outsourcing makes us into followers because we don't trust ourselves. We just trust the clinician ahead of us, right? And so we get, particularly human socialized as women, right? We get really lousy care. I mean, the death rate for Black women giving birth in this country is abysmal, right? But we can't see any of it when we have the blinders of people pleasing on.
Yes.
When we have the blinders of knee-jerk believing on.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm glad because that, go ahead.
I just think it is really, really challenging. It's really challenging. It's really challenging. We're in this really challenging place because because there's all these people on the sort of MAGA, fringe, alt-right who say they've done their research. But then I'm like, okay, what is a null hypothesis versus the H0? H1? What's the p-value? What's the N on what you're studying? And this is not to be pretentious or be smarter than someone or know more. It's because I believe in the scientific method. And because I know that scientists aren't being paid to, give us BS data. Most scientists are living paycheck to paycheck. Let's be honest. It's not lucrative work. And there's not a doctor in this country being paid to vaccinate people, right? You think primary care and pediatrics are actually making money? Most of them are saddled with endless student debt. There's this story that Western medicine is the enemy has been created by MAHA, which is then used to control us in this whole other way.
Well, and I think MAHA is really good at defining the problem. I do not agree with their solutions at all.
Yeah.
But I do think some of the, what kind of fired me up in when I went to a holistic nutrition school, but it wasn't about parties at the time. Nobody cared about food politics at the time. I was learning from Marion Nestle, who has that, she's great. But there have been these instances, right? At Harvard where, the research shows that sugar's kind of a problem, right? And it's let's just give this, I forget the guy's name, right? The New York Times profiled him 5 years ago. It was we'll give you a wing for your building, Harvard. And he was it's saturated fat, not sugar. So I think there are those examples that is some of the, I'm just thinking of people listening and they're but
I think they're few and far between though.
Well, right. But it's the optics of it, right? And but also it's that's not necessarily scientists, that's food companies coming in and saying childhood obesity is about not enough movement, right? Let's detract from soda. you do have to, I think, be very discerning. And I think to your point, though, that you were how I phrase it, but you said it in the beginning, is like science is a continuing quest for knowledge. So that's why you use wisdom.
Yep.
But you want to use the evidence, like you use what has come before. Why ignore all that,
Why ignore that? And then we end up with newborns dying of measles. Pretty bananas to me.
Yeah.
It's really, unfortunately, deeply complex.
But even knowing it's complex is important.
It's very important.
Like, so if someone says, this causes this, it's like, well, let's hold on. I know I'm just thinking about the Tylenol stuff. But Dr. Elise Song, you know who Dr. Elise Song is?
Mm-mm.
She's wonderful. She's an integrative pediatrician. Like you, she has a lot of conventional training, a lot of herbal, homeopathic. But she just kind of like leads with like, there's not one thing that causes anything, right? And it's like in her newsletter, and it's like, we have to remember that holding in developmental psych, it's actually called complexity fitness. As you become more sense of self, you can hold more complexity because you understand all of that. So, but I guess I meant more just like, I think sometimes emotionally outsourcing to wellness professionals, that can further deregulate you and take you out of like maybe that stillness of like what your next step needs to be.
Right. And I've had so many patients over the years. It was really one of the most challenging things for me, would say from that emotional outsourcing, so wait, what can I eat? And I'd say, well, what feels good? And they're like, by no fault of their own, between diet culture and health culture had been spun around in 4,000 ways that they didn't know what felt good. Right?
Yeah.
And maybe we're also at such a point of stress and distress that nothing felt good. And so we're just looking for some kind of like something, which I totally get. Yeah. And it is hard when we are so raised up to believe that someone else has the answers for everything, to know what the best internal answer is for me. I also had IBS, which is the most garbage wastebasket BS of a stupid diagnosis. A doctor at Student Health at Harvard told me to only eat white foods.
Now with knowing what you know, were you like...
And I just looked at her, I was like, I'm a 21-year-old athlete. You want me to what now? She was like, yeah, white potatoes, white rice, white bread. Like French bread, your best friend. You're never going to have symptoms with that. And I was like, but butyrate. Like, you want me to get no fiber. And she just was like, well, you'll not have symptoms if you don't want to have symptoms. And I just, again, praise be, I don't think it's my constitution plus the ADHD plus I'm Argentine. We're very suspicious for good reason.
I didn't know that about
but
the
I
Argentine.
was just like, oh yeah, I mean, come on, we've been through it. But
I know.
Listen, I just remember
one of my best friends from high school is half Argentinian. Her dad immigrated here.
I just remember being like, this is the biggest load of crap, but I'm also obstinate as an animal. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to just roll over and say, okay, doc. That's just never been me. But I think we need to know we have the capacity to say, oh, no, I'm not buying it. So that when we know to say, I don't understand the data and I trust your expertise. And when we're regulated in the nervous system and we're embodied enough, we can have the felt sense of trusting someone versus the old sense of trusting someone from emotional outsourcing, which is generally just reenactment, which is projecting our childhood fears and wounding and BS onto the person in the white coat in front of us.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that's this work. So that I have friends who are virologists and I can say, listen, if I have the choice of which COVID booster to get this year, which one do I get? Oh, that's the one to push for? Forward march. I don't want to read that goddamn data, but I know that Melanie did and I can trust her.
I always say there's like what you're describing of like putting all our old, authority baggage onto doctors or whatever, is there's a difference between expertise and authority. And we have lost that discernment of like, authority is there's someone who's all knowing, and it's like expertise is you have this lens, you're looking at it through here, And, again, I think, with IBS, it's like, okay, I tried antacids. I tried, whatever else they gave me.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it turns out I actually didn't have enough stomach acid, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
But it was like, okay, I tried that. But so much of my healing was, and this gets to your emotional points, and like, we have to have the sense of self to say, like, I'm not buying it, was like, oh my God, how did I figure all of this out when I don't have a medical degree? Like, it was like, and then my bigger question was like, why did I put Weight Watchers on a pedestal? Why did I put my therapist on a pedestal? Why did I put doctors on? And again, it doesn't mean that they don't know anything. It just means that they're looking at it from a certain lens. And that may not be the lens that ends up working for me, which for me, it didn't. But some people, it might.
Right.
So
more reason to find that locus of control and that agency within ourselves, right?
Yes. And I want to ask you one more question, because this comes up in my groups a lot. And I think to the brilliant answer you gave about the point isn't to get the answer, it's to ask the question, right?
100%, yeah.
Is that I see clients, I see people out here almost attacking themselves with self-care, right? Like, my process Truth with Food is about like stopping the battle. So I'm very attuned to when people are using something that could be healing as actually like almost another thing of like, and I don't think they mean to perform self-care, but it's almost like I'm doing all this to almost like alleviate the sensations, the feelings, instead of, oh, these are some of these, and that's a whole other podcast, what is true self-care or not. But I'm thinking of like, for example, walking, right? Like I have discovered that at first I was like, oh, walking helps my insomnia, right? Like it brings my cortisol down. I'm in early menopause. It helps bring my cortisol down. But now it's like, oh, when I'm really dysregulated, walking is not it's the vehicle for me to hear myself, come back to myself, to identify my needs. And so can you talk about what, do you see this too of like, and again, self-care itself has jumped the ship, right? Sure. But I think sometimes people don't realize it's for the regulation. It's not the end goal. Or, I mean, that's how I see it. How would you have such a great way of articulating things. So how would you explain it?
Well, I think the problem is again rooted in whiteness and a colonial mindset and late stage capitalism. Frameworks within which the patriarchy too, because why not always throw it under the bus if you're not busy, and I'm not.
Well, isn't it the original nesting doll kind of? That's how I view it.
It really
The
is.
original.
Yeah.
It's like patriarchy, then you open up and there's white supremacy, then you open that up, it's capital. It's just like, and then diet culture is like, people think it's diet culture. I'm like, oh, that's like the fourth Russian nesting doll.
Right. And Scooby-Doo's at the center, obviously.
Yeah.
So there you go. Science. So I think we are so trained up to prioritize privilege, doing over being. Productivity, baby. Go. Get it done. Right? Like kids with ADHD are given cocaine, they're given meth, right? Do some meth about it instead of like taking them outside to run in the fields and draw and paint, right? The goal is to sit quietly, quench your sense of self, right? Lock you far, far away and perform and do instead of be, right? Because again, a population that is embodied is quite dangerous. They will speak up. They will fight back. I mean, this is a whole other episode, but it's why they made psychedelics Schedule 3, right? That's why they made psychedelics illegal, because people were too busy being and not doing, and too busy exploring self and coming into the fullest experience of self. Very dangerous business. Right?
I didn't know that.
Not going out. Oh, yeah, Nixon. Yeah, it was part of like the pendulum swing from the hippies in Vietnam. Yeah.
I did see that Netflix series with Michael Pollan. So that was like true. He talked about it there.
I didn't watch it. I try not to watch white men talk about psychedelics, but people really love it. It's not my flavor, but yeah, the point is, right? Like we are so trained up to do that we put regulate nervous system on a to-do list like it's a thing to do, which it is. When we're first learning about somatics or body-based practices. When we're first learning to regulate the nervous system, it is something to do. I told you, put it on your to-do list 3 times a day. Your alarm goes on. What am I feeling? What's this animal? I am an animal. My God, what? I'm not just a brain on a popsicle stick? Yes. So we put it on your to-do list. Make it a practice, but a practice on the way to praxis. Praxis is the being. It's when somatic awareness, the experience of being you in your body, in your life, is what you does. It's who you are, is a checked-in, connected animal, which does not mean that you don't get dysregulated.
Right. That's not the goal.
Because if I'm walking down the street and a dog comes barreling at their fence, I would like my nervous system to react so that I know if I have to punch or kick or run. Yeah. Or if I'm crossing the street at Times Square. I mean, just don't go to Times Square, then life is easier. But you know what I mean? Like, we need the nervous system to have its reactions. It's a huge part of how we stay alive. Yeah. Right? But to be able to flow with it is the goal. Oh, gosh, that gave me quite the fright. Okay. All right. I'm just breathing. Yeah, just grounding myself, just coming home to me. Yeah, it was normal for that to be scary because it was scary. So that's normal, huh? Okay, coming home. Right on. Right?
Yeah. I'm thinking for people listening as like a concrete example of praxis, and you can tell me maybe if it's wrong, because that's a new concept, the new term for me. Yeah. But my son came home. He goes to this, he was coming home from kindergarten, and the second graders were having a pumpkin fair because they were teaching them like how to do change and math via that. But he took some of his allowance money, and I came home and said, Essa, what did you buy? And he's like, oh, I got this pumpkin. He's like, I got a brownie. And I was like, oh, fun. And he said, will you share it with me? And I was like, I would love that. And of course I didn't ask, it probably had gluten, right? And I was like, oh, let's get some milk. And we sat there, and it was like, I was just so, the word embody, I guess, it just felt so joyful. I felt so regulated. And I thought about how like so much of the work that I've done around food and stuff, like I could have not done that 20 years ago, right? Or even 10, like a long time ago, it would have been like, oh my God, even like 10 years ago with my gut, right? It would have been like, oh my God, is this gluten? Like, and it was just like, I get to share this moment. I don't feel guilty. Like there's a lack of interference, I guess, is what. Do you think that's what praxis is? I was just like,
yeah, it's
so joyful.
It's walking the talk, baby.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's not. So at first it's, hey, I'd love to share that with you. Give me a second. You go to the bathroom. It's okay to eat gluten. It's okay to eat gluten. And you tap your thumb to your fingers and you count them slowly and you calm your nervous system down and you regulate. It's okay to eat this gluten. It's okay to eat this gluten. And then with time and attention and attunement and love and care, how friggin' incredible for a kid to like want to share his special pumpkin day treat. Like, mama, good job raising that little monster. Well done. For him to want to share that and for you to just ease into, but of course.
And it felt truly joyful. Like I was like, because I was like, he wants to, what you said, I was like, he wants to share this with me.
Holy wowzers.
I know. I'm like, I would not have shared it at his age.
Oh, wow.
But I think of like the praxis is just like an absence of all of the stuff that makes us, that like the thoughts and the guilt and the, you're just, it's okay.
Yeah. And so praxis, as I would like, if we're putting it on a t-shirt, it looks like staying present through activation. So letting the waves rise, crest, and complete. So praxis is nervous system flexibility. It's not eternal zen. It's the capacity to pendulate. So to move between sympathetic charge and sympathetic rest, parasympathetic rest without judgment. Right?
I'm glad you clarified that because I definitely had a different understanding of it.
Yeah. So like early practice, you're at dinner, someone says something like snarky or mean and you like freeze. Hours later, you journal about it, you get into it, realize your dorsal state went online, and then you maybe cry in the shower. And so that's early somatic practice, is you allow yourself to be in this process. And then as your praxis is emerging, you begin to notice the freeze as it happens. And so you can, like we were just saying, you check in with your body, you feel the weight in your limbs, you maybe like you shift in your seat a little, maybe you recognize the need to co-regulate. So you catch someone kind's eye and like let your humanity connect with theirs. And you don't say like the perfect thing, but you stay present. And then an integrated praxis is the next time that same person says something snarky, you sense the first flicker of collapse and your body lengthens into the experience before your mind can catch up. And you say calmly, I don't appreciate the way you said that. Or that didn't sit well with me. Or I'd appreciate if you could be a little kinder when speaking to me. Like, well, who cares, right? It doesn't actually matter what you say. But because you didn't contract, right? Which is what happens when we dysregulate. Like you were able to stay with it. Your diaphragm stayed mobile. And so then your voice stayed steady. Hey, I have the following thoughts and feelings about what you just said or did.
In my work with clients, I tell them, like, in the beginning, we're just trying to catch this after the fact. Like,
just trying to survive.
Yeah, like, and that, I mean, I talk a lot about the knowing but not doing gap as this belonging radar alarm, right? It's like, oh my God, you won't catch it in the beginning. You don't have that. I loved what you said in your book about like, you have to develop this sense of self separate from the self that's emotionally outsourcing, because that's the self that builds the capacity to be with that praxis at like waves that you're talking about. And it just takes time. You can't do it overnight. And that's also why I love you said, even like, we're not taking baby steps, we're taking kitten steps.
The tiniest newborn kitten steps. Baby steps are way too big. When we take baby steps, we fall right on our snout. It's not kindness. It's not
I love
kindness.
That an animal metaphor.
Every time. Why not? More cute, more better. Listen, yeah, tiny newborn kitten steps. So sweet, so small, so soft. I love it. Let yourself slowly come back into being present with you, but don't rush it.
You can't rush yourself into presence.
But we sure try, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I speak from like 18 years of falling on my face trying and then being like, this does not work. Thank God I'm stubborn. Probably wouldn't have learned it at the time.
Right?
Oh,
yep.
So tell everybody where they can find, and we'll obviously link to your book in the show notes all the things.
Yeah.
But where do you like people to find you first?
I like to make it easy for people, and studies show that most people like free presence. So one of the things people don't know about first-time authors and the whole publishing world these days is for a new author like myself, for my book to actually end up in local bookstores and to actually end up in libraries, which was my goal. That's why I spent 5 years writing this, so that it can be free, right? The democratic distribution of knowledge. People need to order it, right? Because if people don't order it, the publishing houses simply don't print it and they don't put any PR behind it, and it will fade into nothingness. So if this has been supportive, I'd really like to lovingly request that you buy it if your goal is to build and maintain strong public libraries. So buy it wherever you want to. And there's a set of links on my website. You can scroll down and see a whole bunch of them at my beatrizalbina.com/book. And I want to thank you for ordering the book, especially leaving reviews on Amazon. And Mama took a deep breath there, but leave the review there because the publishing houses look at that, and Goodreads, which is also Amazon. And there's links to do all of that. And I will thank you with really dope stuff. There's meditations and PDFs and journals and cool stuff on my website because it really matters. And if a feminist neuroscience-based approach to codependency is helpful for you, I'd appreciate your support. And just to say this, I keep saying this everywhere I can, I don't make a single more penny. I have done nothing but lose money writing this book. It's really that I want it in libraries. So if we share a similar politic around that, please.
this points to the point of like triple win care, right? Like take care of yourself, take care of public libraries. Care rocks.
Care rocks. And order a couple dozen. Give them away for the holidays. You know, you don't listen. Your adult sister doesn't want a sweater or socks. And let's be true. Like your boomer parents need this book. So buy a fistful of them. You know what I mean? Your kid's teacher is overworking for what she's being paid. Give her the book.
I know.
You know?
Yeah. Oh my God. I think about when in your book, when you were talking about us not valuing care, I'm like, if we did, nurse practitioners would be paid more than doctors. Teachers would be paid more. Like so many HR would be paid more. All the things.
Yeah. I love that day, my sister.
Well, thank you so much. This has been so wonderful. I have learned so much myself, which is like, I hope you can hear that in my vocal tone.
I hear the prosody of voice and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Nerd.
Well, yeah. And we will list all of that in the show notes, everyone. And go get the book and give it to your sister maybe next Christmas. By the time you have a year to work on it, it'll be a little different next Christmas.
Right on.
Then you'll have the capacity to give it to your boomer parents.
There you go. Thank
you so much, Bea, for being here.
Thank you.